This week in Counter-Strike, Monesy joins Falcons, Siuhy's first day at Liquid, and a bunch of crazy upsets at PGL Bucharest. Let's start with Monesy is going to Falcons. Vu, I know you got a lot to say about this.
Yeah, I had a video on Monesy versus Shiro, and that kind of had to get scrapped, unfortunately, because now Monesy's going to Falcons. The question, though, is Monesy going to save Falcons?
Honestly, I don't think so. I don't know if you saw, but the results recently for Falcons haven't been that convincing, and we'll talk about this a little bit later in the video, but they just lost to Complexity, which I think is Complexity's first win that they've had at an S-tier event. So they're probably going to need a little bit more than Monesy to save them, but it's not going to be a bad move. It's obviously a step in the right direction, but I can't help but feel that there's a little bit more to happen before Falcons is like a legit team.
I would say I'm cautiously optimistic because, I mean, Nico and Monesy could drag, what was it, Hooksy and Nexa and Hunter to a couple of event wins. So, like, it's going to make the team competitive, if at least if they're not already, but
Yeah.
Is it going to make them the world-beating team that you want when you have Nico and Monesy? I don't know if they will be.
Definitely not. I mean, you're right. It basically is just a different version of that G2 team that we used to have. I still think that they're probably one or two moves away from being the team that they want to be.
You know a team that could be world beaters, though? Aurora.
True. Or X Eternal Fire, right? So they just rebranded their org, and that basically means nothing for the viewer, except now they have a different team name.
This is probably one of the most surprising changes possible. It makes sense, though, because of the gambling laws in Turkey, I guess. Look, man, I don't think we're qualified to describe the reasoning behind this, but it happened.
I mean, yeah, it did happen. And you know what else happened, actually? We got sponsored for this video.
Today's video is sponsored by SkinsMonkey. Now, if you're not familiar with SkinsMonkey, this is a trade site that allows you to take some of the old and crusty skins out of your inventory, and you can actually trade them in for something a little bit new, a little bit shinier than what you have right now. And it's really easy to do this, actually. All you need to do is log in through Steam, pick the skins that you don't want to use anymore, grab the ones that you do, and then click trade. All trades will pretty much happen immediately, and any balance that you don't use in your trade actually stays on the site for you to use for any future trades that you decide to do. And right now, if you use the link in the description, you can actually get a 35% deposit bonus, and that's good for up to $100. So let's say you deposit $100, you would actually get $135 on the site if you use my link. So make sure you check out SkinsMonkey, and let's hop right back into the video.
You know what else we're not qualified to talk about, Austin?
What?
VRS.
Yeah, VRS just proves to be a problem again this week. We have all of these closed qualifiers which are giving you points to events, so you're seeing teams play a qualifier to an event that they can't even play, even if they were to qualify for the event, which is exactly what happened with this Yellow Compass event. What is it, 6 teams or so are actually qualified, can't even play the event because they have to play the MRQs. And obviously, as we discussed last week, MRQs would take top priority over anything because that's the qualifier for the major, but it again just exposes VRS for what it is. It's a little flawed, playing qualifiers to events you can't play just to get the points so that you can then qualify for the major. It's very similar to what we talked about last week.
Yeah, I mean, the hard cutoff for VRS is a little bit odd, especially so far before the major. And then the fact that you have important events overlapping with the MRQ. I saw someone suggest that the MRQ wasn't announced far enough in advance. And if that's true, and that's why you have this overlap, because like surely Yala wouldn't have scheduled this event if they knew they literally scheduled in the worst possible scenario where it's like, yeah, every team is going to play all of these qualifiers because they need the VRS, but then they literally can't play your event. It doesn't seem to make sense.
I have no idea if Valve mentioned when the MRQs were, like months ago, but I definitely couldn't imagine Yala planning their event over the MRQs, considering they are not a prestigious tournament. So there's going to be a lot of teams playing in those qualifiers that won't be able to attend.
Yeah, I mean, Complexity is obviously one of them. They are the North American stars, but Liquid, that is the North American team.
So they picked up Siuhy, replacing JKS, which we did talk a little bit about last week, but we got to see their debut with Siuhy, and yeah, it didn't go very well, did it? They played versus Legacy today in Bucharest, and yeah. If you don't know who Legacy is, they're a Brazilian team that's been playing in NA ECL and also a South American ECL for quite some time, and they pulled up to this event and they rained on Liquid's parade.
Did you watch the games?
I didn't. I was asleep.
Yeah, I watched the Anubis game, and that wasn't okay. No offense to Legacy fans. Legacy played quite well. I mean, they 13-4'd Liquid on Nuke. I'm sure they had a good nuke, but on Anubis, I really feel like that was more so in Liquid's hands than anything else. They lost in the first 6 rounds. They lost 2 5v3s. I don't think your IGL is losing those for you, honestly. there was a lot of kind of mental collapse situations for Liquid, and I'm not sure exactly the reasoning behind it. In fact, Siuhy, at least on Anubis, it felt like he was holding his own fragging-wise, but Nertz wasn't playing to his own level. And I actually think, I'll say based on the play style, Liquid kind of almost play this might be a crazy take. This is a hot take. I'm going to preface this. Odd take. I think Liquid at times, especially on Anubis, plays somewhat similar to a lot of Brazilian teams, and Legacy absolutely dumpster the entire North American and Brazilian scene, it seems like. So it just makes sense that they would be good against that playstyle.
Yeah, very true. I agree with you. And actually, that reminds me that Steel made a tweet not that long ago talking about how Liquid was... They were throwing man advantage situations. I think he was like going through a round that they were in a 5v3, and then he watched it and talked about every individual making the wrong choice, and they ended up losing the round. And he talked about that, I think, like 2 weeks ago. I'm sure we'll put it on screen for you. I mean, if you're saying they're still throwing those 5v3s, it makes me wonder if it was an individual problem that Liquid was having before, and maybe it wasn't. They
were on totally different pages. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. They can't get it. But also, it was their first match, and they did just get Siuhy. Now, I know they've been scrimming with him for a while, so it's not like it's day one.
How do you know that?
It's not like it's day one, but I just know that they have been practicing. So, maybe they were just a little nervous, and maybe Legacy came in way more prepared than Liquid expected. Maybe they underestimated them. Who knows? But you know who else got underestimated? Complexity got underestimated versus Falcons.
The entire field.
But yeah, actually all of the upsets that happened in Bucharest are definitely underestimations, but I think Falcons underestimated Complexity because, again, like we mentioned earlier, they haven't had any real success at these events that they've been going to, but they're on a 12-game winning streak right now. I don't know if you knew that. Complexity is making a run.
Yeah, but who have they beaten in that 12-game winning streak?
Well, look, that's not that important, okay? What's important is we have an NA team that we can cheer for again, and actually I have it for you. So we start with a team called Aether, then Take Flight, Chill Guys. They beat Chill Guys twice, actually. Blue Jays, Wildcard, you probably know them. Namiga, Imperial Valkyries, Metasport, Nine Pandas, Passion UA, and now Falcons. That makes 12.
So I count 0 good teams among those.
And I agree with you. So with that being said, we could talk about a few more of the upsets. We have Rare Atom beating VP, which I wish I could say I was surprised to see VP getting upset again, but that's something that happened. Any thoughts on that one?
Rare Atom actually look good. They kind of look like Tai Lu in that, like, I remember watching Tai Lu when they had their upsets pretty recently. Really, really well drilled. It feels like if you can't interrupt their execs with Tai Lu specifically, because I've watched a little bit less of Rare Atom, it felt like with Tai Lu, if you couldn't interrupt their execs, you just wouldn't be able to beat them. You had to kind of find a way to stop them in the middle of it. Rare Atom felt maybe a little bit less like exec heavy, but they had some really, really well drilled tactics, like in terms of taking map control and some execs. Really nice to watch. The question is if they're going to be able to continue it, because it felt like with Tai Lu, they had really clear game plans against certain teams, and once you kind of took them seriously, I don't know if they necessarily could keep it up for the long term against the top teams. This is what underdog teams and regions should look like. You come in well drilled, you make it hard for your opponent, and you make them kind of like, you put them on the back foot. That's what it should look like, when Complexity plays or something. And unfortunately, a lot of the time it doesn't.
I agree with you 100%, but I feel like they're probably not getting this win as convincingly over any other team at the event. I mean, Virtus.pro has just been consistently disappointing. Even with these roster moves, I haven't really had anything to get excited about them. They even lost an unlosable 1v5 to Summer. I don't know if you saw that, but that was bad. Whenever you get the chance, you should watch it. It was bad. They misplayed it very terribly.
Falcons threw an unbelievably unlosable game against Virtus.pro, and we're saying Virtus.pro is the only team that could have lost to Rare Atom this?
Okay, but we also have to remember that we already kind of said that Falcons was a little lackluster, so they're kind of included in that mix.
I feel like
Falcons has been disappointing as well.
I feel like Rare Atom could have beat Falcons, maybe they could have beat Liquid.
I don't know. I feel like Nico single-handedly could deny that from happening.
It's possible.
But then again, I would have said that against Complexity too, so maybe you have a point. You actually might have a point.
All right, you know who else lost though? Mongols lost. Not that surprising.
You think so?
I would say it's Is it the least surprising of the upsets? No.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I'll say that. No, it is. I mean, Mongols has been really good, but 3D Max has been on the rise. I think they're bringing French CS and putting them back on the map.
I really like 3D Max. It's just, do I think that they should be beating Mongols if Mongols is on their A game? No.
No, definitely not.
3D Max did a lot of things really well, but at the same time, there was so many times I saw someone from Mongols just miss a shot that I feel like they normally hit. They were on, I would say they were on their B game, and 3D Max was on their A game. I would say that's how I would describe that. It's not like Mongols weren't there, but they just weren't their usual selves.
Right. No, I can understand that. And there was another one. I don't even know if we can call this an upset at this point, but Astralis beat FaZe. I mean, Astralis is not a team that I'm favoring in almost any series, but I don't know if I'm favoring FaZe anymore either. They haven't really been playing that great. It just seems like FaZe are kind of on the way out here.
Are you saying Karrigan should retire?
I think I actually said that a while ago now. What was it, almost 6 months ago? I said you either die a legend or live long enough to become Hooksy. Didn't I say that once?
I'm pretty sure, I didn't read the comments, but I'm pretty sure I can just assume that you got clowned for that. But
I did.
I don't think Karrigan should retire only because I'm super biased and I love Karrigan. Look, that take aged like wine in that it initially was really, really, really hard to justify. But now I think people are coming around and I think people are willing to have the conversation. So I don't know if you could say it aged like wine. It aged well though, because it went from really like it reverse spoiled. It's like reverse milk aging.
I don't know what you mean.
It was spoiled initially,
but I get it.
Initially it was spoiled, and now
I get the sentiment, but I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're saying. When I originally had said Karrigan should retire, it was because they just had been disappointing. They had lost the Copenhagen Major, and of course this was before Shanghai when I made the take on Thorin's podcast. But afterwards, of course, they made the final in Shanghai, and they lost there too. But apart from majors, where it seems like they get a really big buff from Rain specifically, but most of their players, I don't really think FaZe has done anything that notable. We've had a couple of like top 4 appearances from them throughout the years, very scattered. But apart from that, they've kind of just been there. And Karrigan's rating is worse than Hooksy's was, by the way. Just want you to all remember that. Obviously, he's still the GOAT IGL, even if he's not playing well. But at a certain point, it just, when do the benefits outweigh the fragging, you know? Like, I feel like we have to have that discussion now more than ever. I mean, we have this Austin Major coming up, which I think is very likely to be his last event. At least I hope it's not, but it's starting to look more and more likely every single time I watch them play. And that's coming from the biggest FaZe fan in the world, probably. So I don't know. But it's getting close. It's getting close.
I've been saying Karrigan is the GOAT IGL since literally Prime Astralis, since 2019, since before it was cool. I like Karrigan's style of kind of just, you force your opponents into uncomfortable positions and then you get a frag somewhere and you play with their rotations. It's kind of like, I really think of it as a mid-rounding style where it's like if you can get Karrigan into a 4v4 or even a 3v3 or a 3v4 sometimes, I feel like he's going to call you into a win quite often. And the way I took Austin's take the first time and the way I still take it is Karrigan needs to frag a little bit better if he's going to continue calling his signature style.
That's basically what I'm getting at. But he's not going to...
You could change it up, right? Yeah.
It's not likely, though, right? He's been calling like that for as long as I've been watching the game. So I don't see it happening. But I will say, despite Karrigan not being, maybe in the meta, he might be starting a new meta. I don't know if you saw the view model that they've been using. The emo view model. First, Nico switched to it. Now Karrigan and Brokey are using it. Is there something to this? I think there has to be, right? I feel like this new view model, it's like in the center of your screen on the bottom. I've been a big advocate for it for a long time, to be honest. I think it's actually pretty OP if you think about it.
There has to be a reason people are switching to this. It doesn't make any sense. It's a terrible view model, and I literally will not accept the idea that it's because it doesn't cover up part of your screen. This is like, if you're ever stream, someone will come in your chat someday and they'll say, what's op scope thickness do you use? What your scope when you're scoped in with the op, what thickness do you use for that? And the answer is that nobody that's good at the game has ever cared about that because it's completely irrelevant. Okay,
I don't know the number of my thickness, but I know I use the smallest one, just to be clear, in case anyone's curious.
Yeah, but you shouldn't be curious, because just use whatever is working for you. But pros are doing this, which means there has to be a reason they're doing it, but it doesn't make any sense.
It looks better.
It looks awful.
You know, in real life, you kind of hold your gun in the middle there. It's like it kind of lines up everything if you think
Is
about
that
it, right?
true?
You can.
Don't you hold the back of your gun against your shoulder? I'm Canadian. I'm not like the gun.
No. Oh, okay, exactly. So yeah, you hold it where it's like the center, right? And think about it. Since you're not
You ever held an
ADSing in
M4
game,
in real life?
you can but since you're
You
not
ever held a
ADSing in
rifle
game,
in real life?
no, but
Then
since
you're
you're not
not more qualified
ADSing,
than I
no,
am.
wait, no, okay, time. I have, but anyway, since you're not actually aiming down the sights, having your view model in the center of your screen can give you an idea of where you're aiming when you're not looking at your crosshair. Right? So if I'm looking at something like maybe at my radar or something, and I'm like, somebody peeks me, I can line it up really quick because it's like I see the center of where my gun's aiming, and then like it all works out. You know what I mean?
This is in psychobabble.
Look, man, there's got to be a reason why everybody's switching to it.
There has to be, and it's not whatever you just said.
No, it definitely is. It helps you. It's like a psychological thing.
I think if you use that view model, you need psychological help, is what I'm getting out of this.
Okay, fine. But you know who doesn't need psychological help? The people who click on my next video.
Go ahead, do it.
We're waiting. And subscribe while you're down there.